state, you've got all these just toxic influencers who basically worship money and material gain over things like family and connection. That they have absolutely no, like, it doesn't seem like they really kind of care about what actually matters in life. They just care about their next Lamborghini, their next Bugatti, which to me is quite, yeah, it's quite yeah. I mean, what can I say really? Anyway, so yeah, so we're back now and on YouTube. Let's just reset it. So, but yeah, social media really does mess up a lot of these young people's brains, having them believe that they're not enough as they are and that they have to slave to become some rich. I mean, I think being an entrepreneur is good if you start your own business, but it's the whole thing of making it your whole life identity. People saying that, oh, fuck work-life balance. It's like, well, what is the point in doing all this grinding if you're not going to live? I don't understand it. So they're just going to slave away. They think they're leaving the matrix, but actually they're getting more deep into it by becoming more and more reliant on money, and because the more that they have, then the more they need to do to try and maintain that, instead of just being happy with just a simple life. I mean, we should learn to be able to be happy even with a simple life. That we don't need to have flash cars and whatever and a mansion. What's not a good idea? So anyway, you ever thought about being a copper? You strike me as having a good mentality for it. Not really. I mean, not really something I've thought about doing. Anyway, is everyone okay? Hope you're all well. Yeah, are we all right, people? Nice to have you all here today. What do you all want to talk about then? Hi, Albin. How you doing? Good to see you again. I have to have a job to support myself and freedom. Well, but I'm talking about, like, beyond that, it's like, what is the point? Do we need mansions? Do we need Lamborghinis? You know what I mean? I'd argue that the people who've really, like, broke free from the matrix are the ones who are more minimalist, the ones who realize that they don't need all the bullshit. What are my interests? I like music. I like hello Jake, how you doing? I like what else? I like comedy. I also am into health and fitness. I'm into quite a few things really, but yeah. Anyway, is everybody okay? Hope all is well. Yeah, I'm British, yeah. Yeah, I am British. Yeah, hi, Flashpoint. Oh, you've just finished your shift. It's just, maybe if we actually all kind of pulled resources together, then life isn't not about materialistic things, but maintaining healthy, respectful relationships. Yeah. I mean, maybe if, like, families and stuff would pool resources together, then we'd all be able to get by on very little. So then we wouldn't have to be doing all the bullshit that people do. But it's like, But a lot of people want to move out early. They want to, fly the nest early. But I'm like, is there really any need for that when, if you're just kind of young and whatever, it's like, do you need to fly the nest early? So I talked about this the other day. Unless you really don't get on with your parents, but it's just some people end up going and moving on into their own place, which ends up being way more expensive. Sometimes they're spending a few £100 extra a month, or even £1,000 extra a month when you include all the, whether that be rent, whether that be all the different costs and stuff. Like, you gotta think to yourself, is it worth leaving early if you? I mean, I was thinking about like, how much money you could save up by doing that, and you could invest that money, and that could get you started on a business a lot earlier. I mean, hello, ACAG. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's like, but it's just, but you got to think about the opportunity cost. People moving out into their own place. I mean, either that or move with friends or something. I don't know. People should probably pool resources together, because when you're living on your own, that's going to make life more expensive unless you're willing to do something like more drastic, like van life or something. But it is expensive for a lot of people to move on their own. Hello, Jane. Hello, British. Seems that you might have looked into the Sanity Machine channel, as regarding what you mentioned about now was thoroughly discussed by him, and your perception about it was what you're talking about. Adam and seeing what you're on about. Hello, AD. What's going on? We're getting all these trolls now. Hang on. Hello, Jane. How you doing? Hope you're well. Nice to meet you. It's expensive, but I'd prefer independence than living with family. But I don't know. To me, it's a shame. I think family should be trying to support each other. That's how I see it. You can still have your freedom and whatever. It's just, I don't know. As long as you respect each other, and I'm doing good, thank you. I hope you are too. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, to be fair, it was kind of annoying when I was with my parents, because it was back in the whole 2020 times, and there was like, she was very like strict with all that, and yeah. But thank you for follow, Jane. Yeah, where are you from, by the way? Anyway, nice to meet you. Oh yeah, arm wrestling. I tried arm wrestling once and actually fucked myself up doing that. Thank you for the heart me, Jane. Yeah. I mean, I do train my arms with like. Thank you for the gift, Jane. There, I do like bicep curls and things, and and also like tricep extensions. Oh, thank you, Jane. Nice one. Yeah. I would prefer that families stay together as a community, personally, as a culture. Yeah. It's just, a lot of cultures, they value that, don't they? They value families sticking together, and because it's stronger together than they are separate, I believe. At previous stream, you mentioned about looking up to the Sanity Machine channel, and didn't you just mention about wanting me to go on there or something? Hello, Nemo. Okay, Heinz. I'm an arm wrestler. My arms are unbreakable. Oh, really? But so does like arm wrestling actually build your arms, or do they build it through other exercises? Thank you for the follow, Jacinta. I'm not sure that arm wrestling is the best way to actually build strong arms, but I don't know. Let's have a look. Does arm wrestling grow bigger arms? But it's like, let's put it, is arm wrestling the best way to grow bigger arms? So just try that. Jacinta, thank you for that. So you still there, Jane? Yeah. So Yeah, how are we doing? Is that Francesco? How you doing, Francesco? Arm wrestling is not necessarily the best way to build overall arm size compared to traditional bodybuilding, but it's exceptionally effective for developing mass, dense forearms, brachialis, and specific bicep strength, while bodybuilding training prioritizes maximum hypertrophy muscle growth. Through varied reps and isolation, arm wrestling training builds extreme functional strength, leading to a unique, freaky look. But I don't necessarily know if it's the best way to build overall arms, really. But arm wrestling gets you insane pull strength. I thought it would be more push. I thought it was more push because you're pushing away. I don't know, but maybe it works both. Life is difficult alone. Okay. Yeah, this is what I was saying about. Yeah, hello, the real Indiana. Whatever, just go away. Always someone trying to be all negative. I can't help if I pick at my beard. That's just something I do. Some people just have certain things that they do. No, it's not AI voice. No. Why are people saying is this AI voice? We have friends in India, and even after marriage, they now have an extension built onto parents' house to live closely. Yeah, that's what some people do. I know a lot of the Asian families have multi-generational households, and could that be part of the reason why they tend to be quite well off? Let's have a look. Yeah. Obviously, as well, that a lot of them don't do alcohol and things like that. Let's have a look, see what it says about this. So yeah, basically a contributing factor to the relative economic stability and wealth accumulation within many Asian communities, particularly in the United States, where roughly 24% of Asian Americans live in such arrangements. By pooling financial, human, and social resources, these households create a collective safety net that reduces individual expenses and accelerates wealth building. Here are the primary ways multi-generational living contributes to economic well-being. So we've got reduced overhead. Sharing a home drastically cuts costs for rent, mortgage payments, utilities, and groceries, allowing more disposable income to be saved for it or invested. Faster wealth accumulation. Young adults often live at home to save for a down payment, while middle-aged parents may pool resources with grandparents to purchase larger, more valuable property. Notes the Urban Institute. Economies of scale. Households with multiple earners can more easily qualify for loans and manage higher housing costs in desirable locations. So, but yeah, there's other ones as well there talking about things such as built-in childcare and elder care. We've got cultural and economic advantages, contextual factors. So there's a lot of reasons why it would be good, but obviously everyone's different, but it's just I think it would be ideal if families could stay together, in my opinion, because it's you're all family, right? You're all should all be trying to pool resources to get together, I think, and because you could all be living a better life. I mean, you could say about freedom, but then what freedom is there to be stuck in the system forever? Whereas if you can invest money, you can eventually start your own company, and be able to be free in a way. Or you could even get yourself up to a point where you don't even need to, really, because if you can then have enough to buy a house, and then eventually you don't need much money to get by. And it's just, I mean, it's I guess there's pros and cons to everything, but sometimes things have to be, temporary sacrifices or something for a long-term gain. Just if you just think about what that's gonna get you in the long run, even if you just have to deal with it and it might be a bit annoying for a while, but think about if you could be like, you could probably save up in a few years and just like buy a house in cash. If you can get like, then you basically would be set up for life then. Like I actually worked out that if you can get your cost of living down to next to nothing, some people can be saving anywhere from about 15 to £20,000 a year. So if you can save that much money in about 5 or so years, you could actually, in some cases, buy a house with cash. Then you would be set up for life then. Because then if you need a bigger house, you just basically, you've already got a massive down payment for that house. It's going to be a lot easier to jump up the property ladder. Now you've got a house that you owning in outright, basically. I think British culture has the view that adult kids need to get out into the world to learn how to manage alone with certain things. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't really agree that because it then just kind of like makes you end up being broke if you. I think families should probably be trying to stick together, really, personally, if possible. It's just I feel like the family unit's been destroyed, and I think it's by design. This whole idea of leave your parents, I think it's some kind of corporate kind of bullshit that they're just trying to get you kind of caught up in the fucking rat race. Because the more that you depend on the system, then the more that you need to, put into it, basically. So, anyway, what's this? It used to be that people could only survive with their tribe. If they did something wrong, they'd be exiled and left to survive by themselves. But now modernity, so whatevs. Being exiled was practically an unalive sentence, pretty much, yeah, because then they would be fucked because they relied on their tribe, didn't they, to survive. But now we've got modernity where people can just go off on their own and just because of how like modern society is set up, doesn't it? So yeah. Anyway, hope you're all having a good day, people. If someone was arguing about like maybe what you could do is if it's about teaching people about the real world, where you would go on your own for a year or two and then come back living with your parents. That way you can then be more responsible and save up. So maybe you could say like go out in the real world, whatever, and learn about that, whatever, and then come back to live with your parents, possibly. So I think someone actually suggested that as an idea where that teaches you responsibility when you go off on your own, because now you're forced to like make better financial choices. So then when you come back to live with your parents, then you're going to appreciate being frugal and all that, and saving more money because you can see how important that is. So maybe there's a case for like living on your own for a little while, then coming back to live with your parents, a sort of thing, and then save the money up or something. Hang on, what we're saying? So I was pushed into education. I was pushed with education to enable me to have a good enough career to be self-sufficient early on. Worked well for me, and our family is still extremely close despite the different living separately. Yeah, well, that's good that you've got connections though, but it's like what we're saying is that if people live together, they're pooling resources together, because when you all have separate houses, then it increases the cost of it all. But that's just the way I see it anyway. But you've got a lot of these like Asian families who, they live in a lot of them live in multi-generation households, but a lot of them have very like close connections with each other. I think you could say with the religion and stuff, they're a lot more family oriented and more kind of close to their own tribe, if you will, in that sense that but we need to kind of learn from that and kind of become more, I guess, build community and have more of a close connection. And I think it's similar with isn't it similar with the Jewish community as well, where they have quite close connections with each other, but like people just don't support each other in a lot of like Western sort of like, as in like a lot of the, like British people or whatever, they just kind of, you know what I mean? But yeah, some people say that, you should leave your parents because it's about responsibility or whatever. And I don't know. I don't agree with people like shaming people for wanting to stay with their parents. But that's just me. Everyone's gonna have their own opinions on that. So I guess a lot of it comes down to your own lived experiences and stuff. Like for some people, like they just don't get on with their family, so then it's like for them, like that might not be the answer, but maybe it'd be good to try and find a friendship tribe or something where you can really connect. It's just, some might argue that it can be problematic if when you don't get on, and then, because let's say if a few people bought a house together, let's say, right, you have, say, 5 people buy a house for about, in some cases, maybe 150 or 200,000 pounds. So each of those people are only paying anywhere between 30 to 40,000 pounds each. So they could save up for a little bit and then an old chip in together. Hello, Emily. How you doing? I'd say there's probably a good argument for both. Yeah. It comes down to your own kind of preferences, and like I was saying about this whole thing of wanting to move to Southeast Asia, for example, or even Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, whatever, where the prices of things are cheaper and people becoming digital nomads and stuff, and just living free or whatever, and just because I know someone's moved over to like the Philippines, and yeah, it's quite cheap stuff over there, and he was saying now a lot of it's better quality, a lot of the fruit over there. So if that's something that you want to have is like fresh tropical fruit, then that might be appealing. He was saying that you can get 6 bananas for like 30p. That's like 5 pence a banana. Good luck trying to get that here. Hello, Scully. How you doing? I only know English, really. Why? Okay, for everybody else, what you're saying? If only the world was that easy, what you're saying, Scottish farmer. Wasn't there a tribe in some woodland in the UK that were evicted by the council and they were drinking iron brew? Oh, really? Huh. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But there's people who do like wild camping and stuff and just travel around, and like there was a channel on YouTube called Nomad Sam that I was watching, and he just goes around with his dog camping and in the tent. Like when it was summertime, he was at the sand dunes, but that's not for everybody. So, but for some people, they like the freedom that gives them. That gives them a sense of freedom that they don't get from like living in the system or something. Yeah, 60p for 2 bananas. Depends where you get them from, but I know in Lidl or whatever, Aldi, you can get like 5 for about 70 something like that. Actually, no. Hang on a sec. No, probably about. Let me think. How many would you get for like in like in like Lidl? It'd probably be about 5. Would probably be like trying to think. Probably like 80p, something like that. Depends how big they are, really. But yeah, it's not really still not that cheap. But yeah, I mean, it's cheaper than you get in the other shops, but arguably not as good quality. But I grow my own veg. There's lots of ways to live cheaper. There is, yeah, I agree. Like even say food waste, finding like like say if you can get access to like I mean, this is if people really want to like live cheap. There is ways of getting some free food. You're not going to get it all free, but yeah. But it's I actually made a video about this. But not everyone wants to be gardening. That's the thing. Not everyone wants to be fucking around with that. There are easier ways to do it though, like no dig potatoes. So there is solutions and stuff, but yeah. Yeah, wild camping is supposed to be illegal, isn't it? Something unless you're on designated paid sites. Yeah, just fucking like that's the thing with like capitalism. The problems with it where it's kind of I don't know, Zukuok. Like the problem with capitalism and how let's say like people try and make things illegal if you're on private land or something. Just to me, it's just greed at that point. Like as long as you're not causing any harm and as long as you're not breaking through some kind of barriers or something like that, then I don't see any problem with it. Yeah, right to roam, that's the thing. I also agree with some of the squatters' rights, like the adverse possession. I actually think that's something good. Like if someone's like left a house, right, for a certain amount of time and they're no longer acting as the owner, they've left it, and then it's like, well, then somebody else could just claim it as theirs if they then start acting as the owner, if they start maintaining it. Because if you leave a house for so long and then it starts to become rough and whatever, and someone else starts maintaining it, and then it's like they can eventually claim it as theirs. But there's a whole process, and I think it should actually be easier to get instead of there's a lot of like bullshit that you have to go through in order to do that. But I think that I agree that if you're gonna own something like a house and it's like you're not going to like you're just going to abandon it, then I think someone else should just be able to take it. That's how I see it. Because otherwise, you're just wasting fucking space. Someone else could have that. You know what I mean? What's the time limit? It's something like 10 years or so. 10 to 12 years, depending on the type of land. Which is like, you have to get a whole bunch of documents to prove that you're the, like acting as the owner. Or something like that. I mean, I don't know, the whole Epstein files is just crazy, all that stuff coming out. Even Peter Attia apparently has been conversing with Epstein, even though he apparently knew what was going on with him at the time. So you can camp anywhere, obviously not private land without permission, but parks and reserves, etc. and so on. But there is some people that do it, though. Some people that do camp secretly in woods and wherever. Thank you for the follow, TT. Hello, Koki. There are some countries that actually permit it, though. Like I know in some like parts of Scandinavia, they actually permit you to camp. Hello, Mike. I don't know. I don't think God's gonna do it. I mean, the God of the Bible, anyway. I think it's up to us to, sort the shit out. I don't think that any god's going to come and sort all the evil out of the world, because why did they let it all happen in the first place? Anyway, but yeah, some people do it anyway, even though it is illegal. But I'm not going to tell people to do that, because that would be breaking the law. But yeah, is everyone okay? No, I'm from England, but in Scotland, apparently you're allowed to do it. There would be some nice areas like Glencoe and stuff that you can go wild camping or something. Yeah, that'd be quite nice out there, as long as the weather's good. Because sometimes the weather's just awful. Weather can be really bad in those sort of places. Really, I am the law. Are we all right, people? Are you streaming from a Nintendo DS? Why? Okay, no. Anyway. Right, Joshua. Yeah. Okay, now. What is going on with this chatting? Squatter rights for 15 years. Well, what's that? 15 years. Well, they upped it now or something. What are you saying? What do you mean squatter rights for 15 years? What are you saying? Scotland can be dangerous if you're not smart. What do you mean? What's dangerous? Well, anyway, yeah, I know. Well, not Glasgow, obviously, but maybe somewhere right out of it, somewhere that's quiet. Anyway, if anyone's new here, hit that subscribe button. Hello, Royman. How you doing? Okay. World War II ended with the bomb. Where are we heading now? What do you mean? Some say we're heading to World War III. What do you think, guys? The squatters' rights in Australia. Oh, yeah. Squatters' right. Is it different in Australia then? But there's been like some places where people would just go and like stay in like abandoned houses and stuff. It's just crazy to see all the. So there was like literally mansions that have been left abandoned, and some of them are still in actually somewhat okay condition, and no one's claimed it or anything. It's just sad to see that, isn't it? That it's just been left to rot, and some of it's just gotten rotten. I remember there was one where someone went into the apparently the mansion where John Lennon was living or something like that. If you type in John Lennon abandoned mansion, so if I just go and like, yeah, you can actually look into that and go to, let's see if there's any recent ones of it. Like they will, I don't know if they'll eventually knock it down or something. So we're talking about knocking some stuff down, but anyway, is everyone okay? Hope you're all well. What are you on about, Roman? What are you saying? Crazy to think people think they have the right to take shit that doesn't belong to them. Well, I would argue that if you're just going to leave something abandoned, then that's your fucking problem, then, isn't it? You know? Like, if someone's going to, like, not act as the owner of that property, then I think that there's a responsibility when you own something, then you're supposed to possess that thing. You're supposed to be the possessor of that. If you're just going to leave it and abandon it and not, then yeah, then I would argue that that's their problem then. Oh yeah, Ultimate Alex, yeah. Suppose you got a point. Oh, you have Trilogy, yeah. The World War III, but then it's been a long time, and it's like, well, when's the next one going to come? Because you had World War I, World War II, which were not like far between. And now it's been nearly 100 years, and like, when's the next one going to be? Yeah, I know, but if you leave something to, like, hello Rudra, if you're going to leave something abandoned, then you should either sell it or do something else with it, rent it or whatever, you know? Like, I get what you're saying, but like, there's a lot of a wasted space, and people think that they can just leave something to rot and just waste away. So I'd argue that you don't have a right to just leave something to waste away. Maybe they could have a thing where you have to pay more tax if you're going to not occupy it. A lot of people leave businesses abandoned. They leave buildings completely, like, some people say that they should tax it, so then they either have to sell it off or pay more tax, which would then be contributed into society. But anyway, 1003 subs. Okay, we'll just keep going. And what's your question, John? People think they can take shit that ain't theirs. Well, it's up to you to, like, protect your shit, is what I'd say. You know, you're the one that, you know, that owns it. You are the one responsible for it. Like, when, for example, if people leave shit around, for example, you get people dropping shit on a, you know, like when you get, like, people, like, losing shit on a beach, for example, and then people go and find a whole bunch of fucking bullshit. Is that okay for them to take then? Like, where do you draw the line with this stuff? If you're gonna, like, abandon something and then not act as the owner of it, then why would you be surprised if people take shit? Live in the abandoned building okay, can we just, like, not say that in here? Hello, Billy Boy. Like, we can't really, you know, say that stuff in here, can we? Hello, M-Tech. Okay, we're getting rid of that as well. I don't watch TV. Billy says it's all a bit, what's shit? It's only the people with burger are the ones that think they have the right to take everything. But why do you think that you can just take everything that from, thank you for the follow, Geraldine, hoard land that you're not using or something? I mean, I'm not saying that you're doing that, but why should someone think that they can hoard land that isn't, you know, kind of being used I think that like if you're not using it to either help somebody or to use for some kind of thing that, whether it be a business, something that's going to benefit society, then yeah, I don't agree that it should be just left to rot away, basically. Thank you for the follow, Umu Jairi. Oh yeah, gypsies parking in car parks. Yeah, I've seen that one. What do you think about that then? Do you think that's bad? Dehydrated water. How can you drink dehydrated water? Reminds me I need to have a drink, but looks like we're just going to be disagreeing on that whole kind of topic. So, yeah, maybe we'll have to agree to disagree on the whole kind of squatters' right thing. But yeah, I mean, I do agree in the sense that, like, if you're living in someone else's property and you're not paying tax, then you should be able to be kicked out. I do agree with that, because if you've agreed on a tenancy or whatever, then they should be able to just chuck them out. You know, if they're not going to pay their rent. You know, I don't think there should be, because it's not the problem if that person can't pay their rent. So I do agree with that, and I don't think that those squatters' rights should be allowed. I think that is just, you know what I mean? Because you could be like, because it's like someone is like paid for that property so that you can live in that. So it's like what sort of thing. So yeah. Anyway, can't have a proper conversation on here. What do you mean? Hello, Rudney. What's 14? What are you talking about? Why can't you have a proper conversation? Hello, Sean Hughes. Oh, good. What's with these numbers? What are you talking about? What is going on here, eh? I don't know, guys. What the hell is this about? And I'm just saying, you know, maybe we're going to agree to disagree or something. It's like, but it's just we obviously have different takes on things, and yeah. Oh, it's the age. Okay. Yeah, I hope everyone's doing well anyway. Okay. I just think that, like, you know, the way I see it is that every bit of land should be used for something. If it's not being used for something, then it's waste. It's, what's your situation? Do you rent? I do rent, yeah, but why? I'm just saying I feel like, you know, if you own something, I think you have a responsibility to actually make use of it in some way. Anyway, is everyone okay? Hello, epicness. Oh, really? Trying to have a conversation. Okay, then. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Reality is that our society is going through major changes, and we have a choice to resist and be free or comply and go along with it all. Yeah. But how are we supposed to resist then? How are we supposed to not comply? Because there's certain laws that they put in place that you can't just break. So, you know what I mean? Like, I guess there's only so much that we can do. We have to just kind of try to find alternative ways that are still within the law, I guess. Continue with your convo. Okay. People say find your tribe. Yeah. This is what I was saying about, like, with all these people that feel like they have to kind of, you know, keep up with the Joneses, they say. Get the newest iPhone, all this bullshit. But maybe it's best to find people who don't need all that. Yeah, if you don't need all that, then you just find the people who aren't going to judge you for not being so into the materialism. Because I think it's the materialism that causes people to be stuck. But yeah, tribe. Yeah, I mean, maybe a better word. Yeah, tribe sounds a bit kind of primitive, if whatever they call it, primal. Like it sounds quite going back quite a bit. Like we had tribes and stuff, but the thing is, you could say human nature is quite tribal still. Like we have like for example, different football teams and people. It exposes people's like human nature of like animalistic instincts of defending their tribe and all that. And as much as people want to be equal and want to be unite and all that, but at the same time, there's this tribal nature. Yeah. But maybe we should be trying to be like focus on coming together as a sort of like collective, as like a against all the bullshit government and all that, That's what people need to start doing, I think, is to maybe they need to form their own coalition, maybe their own. This is what I was saying, we need to try and get some kind of maybe some party that actually gives a fuck about the actual, majority of people instead of some these like career politicians. Because I think Nigel Farage is just another one, like all these people with their lavish lifestyles. They're not actually really for the working class, I don't think, are they? I mean, they might say, oh, well, it's all because of these people that are coming into the country. But to me, it's just a way of trying to get people on side with them. They want to get more supports, but then what happens when they do get in? You know what I mean? Look, Indian. Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm on a lot, so yeah, that's probably why. I stream quite a lot, so anyway. Who's the majority? What do you mean, who's the majority? I don't know. Anyway, what we're saying. Politician on all sides are liars. It's so disheartening. Yeah, I think they're all a bunch of compromised, just more into like whatever, like the bribes that they get, and you were talking about voting. Yeah, I just think it's all a rigged game where no matter who you vote for, it doesn't matter. That's how I see it. Right, guys. Oh, really? You love drinking vodka? Okay. I think I'm just gonna like wrap it up for a bit and then come back. So I will see you all